G'day everyone and welcome back to another video here on the channel. And today I'm going to be going through my tips and predictions for this round of football. Now if you guys do go on to enjoy this video, as always, could you please show me that by liking the video as well as subscribing to the channel if you guys are new. Now wasting your time, let's get straight into it. Now before we do get into the tips, I'd just like to quickly acknowledge the fact that I do have a tipping comp ahead of this year's season. We currently have 85 members and we're going to try and get to 90 by the end of the week. If you get first place, you receive a cash prize of $100 as well as an external second and third place prize. If you place second, you receive a $30 prize, and if you place third, you get 15. Currently in third place, we have Shannon Humphreys. In second place is Dead Fish Pool, and in first place, the current leader of the competition is Mr. Bigger. 3-4 weeks in a row, something like that. He's been up on the top. As for me, I didn't go too bad last round after scoring a 7 out of 9. Now let me quickly tell you guys the two games that I got incorrect of the rounds. The first one was GWS v Bulldogs. I had to back the Giants. There was no way I was backing the Bulldogs. The Giants at home, it was Manuka Oval in Canberra. I just felt like that was such a strong side up there. And to be honest, the Bulldogs, yes, they've been in some alright form over the last few weeks, but it just sort of seemed like they were really relying on Marcus Bonampelli the week before, and he just can't do everything, unfortunately. But the Bulldogs are starting to find a bit more form now, and they're definitely in finals contention once again. As for someone else that you can't really be overlooking, the Carlton Blues, they got the job done over the Geelong Cats. I mean, there's not really too much reasoning on why I tipped Geelong. The Blues, they're just not really a great side. Start of the year, I think 0-4. But on that note, let's move on to the tips that I have for this week. To kick off the round on the Thursday, we have Essendon taking on North Melbourne. This will be at Marvel Stadium at 7:30 PM. I'm trying to convince myself that this will be a good game, but I'm struggling to believe it. North Melbourne are bad. Essendon, they can't kick a goal to save their lives. So I think at this rate, neither teams are likely to score over 70 points. The only thing North really have going for them is Nick Larkey with that Coleman medal potential. Even Curtis, he's got an average of 2 goals a game. He's definitely stepped up a lot this year. Sherry's average of 35 hitouts won't go unnoticed. But for Essendon, Peter Wright, he's only played 2 games this season and kicked a total of 8 goals. Then you got the obvious players like Zach Merritt and Caldwell, who are always doing outstanding things. Goldstein, even he had a massive role last week against the Pies after coming in for his first game of the season, and he's going to have a lot more opportunities this year now that Draper is likely to be out for, I don't know how long it is. I don't know if it's a season injury. I'm actually not too sure on that. You guys probably have a better idea than I do, so hopefully they can carry that on to this week. But I will be tipping Essendon going into this game, and I'll tip them to win by 27 points. Now on the Friday, we have the St Kilda Saints taking on the Freo Dockers. This will be at 7:40 PM at Marvel Stadium once again. Freo currently have 4 wins and 3 losses, while St Kilda are the complete opposite with 3 wins and 4 losses. So overall, these two teams haven't been playing too differently this season, although 2 of Freo's wins have been against some pretty average sides, to say the least. Sides that are likely to finish in the bottom 4, and in fact, they lost to Melbourne. While the Saints have beaten 2 sides that are definitely in contention to make the top 8 this year, being Geelong and Port Adelaide. Both midfields are looking pretty good at the moment, with the Saints having Sinclair, Malira and McRae, and Freo having O'Meara, Brayshaw and Sarong. Currently, Higgins and Tracy are tied for second place in that Coleman medal leaderboard, right behind Ben King, who has 23 goals this season. But I think based on it being the Saints' home game, you'd almost consider backing them going into this one. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to tip the Saints to get up by 2 goals. Now to start off the Saturday, we have the Western Bulldogs taking on the Port Adelaide Power. This will be at 1:20 PM at Mars Stadium in Ballarat. Bulldogs are favourites going into this game, which is fair enough, to be honest. Bontempelli's return to the game has been absolutely game-changing. I mean, despite him being subbed off last week against the Giants, the Dogs still got that comfortable win though by 32 points. And yes, Port Adelaide are also fresh off a win, but it doesn't really look too good when you're only defeating North Melbourne by 9 points. Georgiades has been quite impressive in this first 11 rounds of football. This game is the first Mars Stadium game of the year, so the Bulldogs are going to want to start it off strong, which is why my prediction is moving closer and closer to the Doggies. And after pulling off back-to-back smashing, it's definitely a certainty. I'll tip the Dogs to win in a close one, and we'll go 9 points. Next up, we have Adelaide v Carlton. This will be at the Adelaide Oval at 4:15 PM. Here we go. The first tip I don't actually have to put too much thought into. Yes, the Blues are fresh off an unexpected win against the Cats, but their only other wins have been against North Melbourne and the Eagles, while the Crows have beaten more respectable teams and had more respectable margins against the poorer teams. They got that win against the Giants, and then defeated the Saints and the Bombers by 60+. And really realistically should have beaten the Gold Coast Suns if that mark was paid in the dying moments. So you certainly have to go the Crows to get the job done here, and you got to go by a bit of a higher margin as well. I'm going to back the Crows by 35 points. I think the Blues will start off the first half relatively well, as they usually do, and then just sort of fall off in that second half. Moving on to the night games, we have the Collingwood Magpies taking on the Geelong Cats at 7:35 p.m. This will be at the MCG. Come on, Pies. They're not that good. Geelong have won 4 games and lost 3, while the Pies have only lost 1 game this season, which was in opening round against the Giants. They also got the 6 wins in a row as of recent, meaning that they are on top of the AFL ladder. Nick Dacos is currently on a 30 disposal average, but not too far behind him is Bailey Smith from the Cats with 29. Both players have been really good to start off the season. Although the Pies will go without Dean McStay for the next 6 to 8 weeks, meaning that Mason Cox is likely to return this coming week, as Darcy Cameron will need that extra ruckman, as Dan McStay was the backup ruck. Although I think over the next 6 to 8 weeks, I would be expecting a Charlie West debut after kicking 3 goals in the VFL. And I may be mistaken, but I believe he did used to play in the ruck. Not that he would get that time in the ruck if he was chosen for the AFL side, because he's not the tallest of blokes. He's a pretty tall player, but not the ruck type. But with Jeremy Cameron and Patrick Dangerfield being really strong forwards for the Cats and averaging 2 goals a game, the Pies definitely have to be on their best defence. But I think based on how good the Pies have been playing as of late, and obviously the Cats did lose to Carlton last week, which I do know upsets happen, but it's really not looking good for them going into this game, which is the reason why the Pies are favourites. I'm gonna back my Pies. I'm not too confident though, so I'm only gonna tip them to win the game by 3 points. And as for the other night game, this will be the Eagles taking on the Melbourne Demons at 7:35 p.m. Also, it's the same time as the Cats game, and this will be at Optus Stadium. I don't know who made this fixture, okay? Don't bring it up with me, bring it up with the AFL. A lot of people are assuming that the Eagles won't win a single game this season, which I think is fair enough. When you really think about it, they're not going to beat North Melbourne. They probably don't beat Melbourne. I wouldn't have thought they're going to beat Richmond unless they have a bunch of injuries. So I feel like their only really hope is this week. I know I said that they're not going to beat Melbourne, but who knows what could happen at home in Perth. But I think despite Melbourne's poor start to the season, they have been clearly a better side than the Eagles. So you'd be wrong not to tip them, even though it is being played at Optus Stadium. You'll see a lot of biased Eagles supporters favour towards their team, which I think is fair enough. You're always going to have some hope, but I'm still going to back Melbourne to win the game by 29. Now moving on to the Sunday, we have the Sydney Swans taking on the Giants. This game will take place at 1:10 p.m. and will be at the SCG. How is this the first game on the Saturday? Surely they could have had this on Saturday night, where the Eagles-Melbourne game takes place, or even to start off the round on the Thursday. I know there's a huge skill gap between both of these teams, but it's the battle of the bridges. You never know what could happen in this huge rivalry. Jesse Hogan, he's been good as always. He's got an average of 4 goals a game, which is quite impressive by the big man. But Toby Green, he also has an average of 2 goals a game, which is pretty generic for him. But we're looking at the midfield. The Giants have Callaghan, Tom Green, Josh Kelly, who have all been really good to start off the year for the Giants. You'd think they'll have no trouble winning it out of the middle this weekend, even though the Sydney Swans do have Brodie Grundy in the ruck, who's arguably a top 4 ruckman in the competition. So I think because of the rivalry, I do have to go a close-ish game, but I still think the Giants get up by 3 goals. Next up, we have the Hawthorn Hawks taking on the Richmond Tigers. This will be at the MCG at 3:20 p.m. The Hawks are about to win back-to-back smashings after the obvious 50-point win against the Eagles last week. I know it's early in the season, but when you compare these two teams ladder-wise, it's really not looking good for the Tigers. The Hawks currently 4th on the ladder, while the Tigers are 16th. And if that's not good enough for you, let me just read out the odds. Hawthorn $1.06 to Tigers $9.50. So on that note, I'll tip the Hawks to win by 60. And to conclude this round of football, we have the Brisbane Lions taking on the Gold Coast Suns at 7:20 p.m. at the Gabba. Jeez, this is really the day for the rivalry, isn't it? First the Battle of the Bridges, now we got the Q Clash. But in this scenario, both teams are very similar skill-wise. The Lions have had 6 wins and the Suns have had 5. Both teams are right next to each other on the ladder, with the Suns being 3rd and the Lions being 2nd. Hipwood has certainly stepped up this year after the loss of Danaher, but the Lions will have to watch out in defence after Ben King is officially leading in the Coleman Medal leaderboard with 23 goals all season. Anderson and Miller are good as ever. Lockie Neal is a genuine contender to become a 3-time Brownlow medalist this year. Kyle Lohmann played his first game back last week and was subbed out with injury for the 3rd time this season, unfortunately for him. Overall, I think this will be a good game. The Suns are definitely a chance of getting an upset, but I think at the Gabba, we'll tip the Lions. Ooh, okay, this is where it gets serious. Lions by 7. And that will wrap up today's video. I hope you all did enjoy, and if you did, could you please show me that by liking the video as well as subscribing to the channel if you guys are new. And I hope to see you all in the next video that I post here on the channel.